The storm hit faster than anyone expected. Violent winds bending the old pine trees, rain slamming against the highway like sheets of shattered glass, and thunder rolling across the North Carolina mountains with a force that made the world feel unsteady. Noah had been driving for hours, chasing a peace he wasn't sure existed anymore, chasing distance from a year filled with heartbreak, mistakes, and a loneliness he tried desperately to bury beneath work and silence. But when the storm grew too strong for his aging truck to handle, he pulled off at the nearest mountain lodge, an old wooden place dusted with memories of travelers before him. Before the story continues, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories that heal the heart, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. It truly helps more people find these emotional stories. Inside the lodge lobby, dripping wet, Noah discovered the final blow of the night. Every room was booked except one. And as he stepped up to the counter, shaking off his jacket and ready to surrender to whatever was left, he noticed he wasn't the only one stranded by the storm. Standing beside him was a woman around his age, mid-20s, maybe early 30s, with soft auburn hair tied in a messy bun, eyes that looked tired yet kind, and the kind of presence that felt familiar even though they had never met. Her name was Claire. He learned this when she spoke to the desk clerk before him, and she was also searching for a place to stay the night. But there was only one room left. One room and, more importantly, one bed. Noah froze, unsure what to say. He had barely spoken to anyone in weeks except clients and relatives who pitied him. Claire looked at him, then at the clerk, and with a gentle, almost teasing smile, she murmured, "Only one bed left? Maybe it's big enough for both of us." Noah's heart dropped into his stomach so fast he almost choked on the air. She clearly meant it in a light-hearted, practical way, but his own mind, still bruised from everything he'd been through, interpreted it as something dangerous, something he shouldn't get close to. So he forced a stiff smile, swallowed his nerves, and said, "I'll take the sofa." And just like that, the clerk handed them both the key to the same room. When they stepped inside, the storm howled so fiercely it shook the window frames. The room was small, warm, rustic, just a lamp on the nightstand, a queen-size bed pushed against the wall, and a worn-out sofa that probably felt like sleeping on stones. Noah set his bag down and took a step toward the sofa, but Claire gently stopped him. She wasn't pushy, wasn't the type to insist, but her voice held a softness that made him feel seen. She said she didn't mean to make him uncomfortable earlier. She said she was just trying to make a tense moment easier. And she said she was totally okay with taking the bed if he preferred the couch, or sharing the room as quietly and respectfully as possible. Her words weren't flirtatious, not even close. They were human, real, warm, and that warmth cracked something inside Noah. He hadn't felt it in so long, not since the breakup with his fiancée last spring, not since the days when he woke up excited instead of exhausted from pretending to be okay. As the storm waged war outside, Claire sat on the bed, brushing the raindrops from her hair while Noah settled on the sofa, doing his best not to disturb the fragile peace forming between them. They exchanged small bits of their lives, not the deep stuff, just surface-level details about work, travel, favorite foods. She was a school counselor from Georgia, driving north for a conference. He was a contractor from Tennessee, visiting his sister before heading back home. It wasn't much, but somehow, even the smallest pieces felt meaningful. Hours passed. The storm softened, the lamp cast a warm golden glow across the room, and when Claire finally drifted to sleep, Noah found himself unable to rest. The sofa dug into his back, but that wasn't the real problem. His mind was restless, overwhelmed by the weight of loneliness he had been carrying for months, and equally overwhelmed by the unexpected comfort of sharing a room with someone who didn't feel like a stranger anymore. Sometime around midnight he sat up. He didn't move, didn't turn on the light. He simply listened to the quiet sound of Claire breathing, steady and calm, grounding him in a way he didn't understand. In the glow of the moonlight filtering through the storm clouds, he could see her sleeping peacefully, curled under the blanket with her hair falling across her cheek. There was something undeniably human and comforting about the way she rested, vulnerable yet safe, as though she trusted the world even when it had been unfair. As he watched her, he realized something painful but necessary. He missed the feeling of connection. He missed being close to someone. He missed being known. His life had become all walls, all distance, and Claire, without trying, without even knowing, had shown him a glimpse of what he had lost. The next morning, sunlight replaced the storm. The world looked washed clean, renewed, almost hopeful. Noah stretched, aching from the night on the sofa, and Claire sat up with a sleepy smile that made the room feel warmer than the heater ever could. They both laughed at his stiff movements, and she offered him half of her breakfast bar. They talked longer this time, more honest, more real. She asked why he seemed sad around the edges. He didn't tell the whole story, but he told enough. She listened, not like someone waiting to respond, but like someone who truly cared. When checkout time came, neither of them seemed eager to leave. They walked outside together, the fresh air filling their lungs as if giving them permission to breathe again. The world was bright, the storm clouds gone. Claire stood by her car, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear, and said she was glad they crossed paths. Noah. And nodded, unsure how to express what the brief encounter had truly meant to him. It was only one night, one shared room, one unexpected connection, but sometimes the smallest moments leave the deepest marks. She opened her car door, paused, and then looked at him with a softness he felt down to his bones. She said the storm forced them into the same room, but maybe storms aren't always the enemy. Maybe they push people toward something they didn't know they needed. He didn't know what to say. Words failed him in a way that felt both frustrating and oddly perfect, because the truth was, he needed that night more than anything. He needed the reminder that he wasn't invisible, that he wasn't broken beyond repair. That connection, real, honest connection, still existed in the world. As Claire drove away, Noah stood there longer than he intended, watching her taillights disappear around the bend. He expected the loneliness to return, to swallow him whole the way it always did, but instead, a new feeling settled quietly inside his chest, a feeling of possibility, a feeling of hope, a feeling that maybe, just maybe, he wasn't done writing new chapters in his life. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support means more than you know, and helps these emotional stories reach many more people. Before the ending, here's a special request. Comment below what part of the story touched you most. And as Noah finally walked to his truck, the sun rising across the mountain ridge, he whispered a silent thank you. Not to the storm that broke his plans, but to the storm that brought her into his life. Sometimes, the world doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you need. And sometimes all it takes is one night, one stranger, one shared room to remind you that healing isn't a destination, it's a beginning.